So hopping right into the video, we're not gonna waste no time here. The XYBA buttons, I have to say I do not like at all. They are a lot more tougher to press. This seems like the membrane underneath the buttons themselves has dried out almost, and it's just instead of it being mush and rubbery, it's stiff, very stiff buttons on this controller. Not as bad as the first controller I received of this. Yes, I had another controller sent out, because the first controller, it was so bad, I had to like assume there was something wrong with the controller. But no, this controller was a slightly better upgrade, but still the buttons were just very, very hard to press. I didn't like them at all. The actuation buttons on the front, the other ones, they are just as bad in my personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not like you're gonna be using these all the time, but they're a lot harder to press in. They're a lot stiffer. If you like a stiffness of buttons on your controller, then this controller is gonna be great for you in that aspect. But for me, I didn't like it at all. I'd rather have like a more traditional Xbox feel of the buttons when I'm pressing them. The Xbox button works as advertised. It's the Xbox button, and the share button also works. Moving on to the D-pad on this controller. The D-pad's fine. It's a dome D-pad. It works great. It looks great, and there's multiality functions on this button. Multiality, yeah, we're creating words here at PUghsreview now too, evidently. But you can control your in-game chat and your game chat with this D-pad by pressing and then moving this back and forth up and down to do all that. It does take a 3.5mm jack headset for you to be able to do that. And no, this will not work with your wireless headset. Let's talk about extra buttons on the back of this controller. This controller does have 2 extra buttons on the back of it. They work, they're great, they're ergonomically placed perfect in my personal opinion. They do have a little bit of a lip on them now, so if you eat and get grease and chicken crust and finger pizza, all that stuff on your fingers and go and slide it across this, you're gonna be jamming stuff up in there, so be careful of that. If you wanna see how to break these style controllers down and stuff, let me know in the comments below to show you how to clean this controller from the inside out to help with stick drift and just buttons sticking and stuff like that. I got you. I don't mind making videos like that. I just need to know you guys want to see that. And while you're down there, help your boy out and hit the like button, because hit the like button to help your boy get noticed by this ever-growing algorithm. Oh yeah, subscribe. I don't really do that, but whatever. We did it this video. The back buttons on the controller do have that clickiness. I like that personally. If you don't like that, then you won't like this controller. Let's move on to the ergonomics and build quality of this controller. Ergonomically speaking, this controller is very good in the hands. I do like the way it's placed in the hands. It has that traditional Xbox feel of the controller in my hands a little bit, with a little bit of like a Nintendo Switch Pro integrated, because of how it's a little bit thinner here on the ends than it is on the Xbox. It's a little bit wider gap on the underneath right there. So the Xbox is going to be the best controller in my personal opinion, but these controllers feel great too. I have no issues with them, and they feel great in the hand. Just doing a stress test on the controller itself, bending it around, trying to see if I can get that, make some weird creaky noises or anything like that. I don't have that. This is very good built. Feels like the plastic on it, it doesn't feel like it's the best plastic in the world, but it's definitely held together and built good, I feel like, on the inside out, because I just can't bend it at all. And then that's good. We don't want to be able to bend and break our controllers. Let's talk about looks and design of the controller. If you don't think this controller is beautiful, then you are not very smart, because this controller is a gorgeous looking controller. I absolutely love the white matte going into the grayish colors, and then on the back of it has the texture looking just on the black. It just, you know, has that design there all the way to the extra buttons, and then of course the metallic red, and then the stainless steel looking buttons on the front of it. This controller looks very pleasant to look at. I absolutely love it. It's gonna be hanging on my wall behind me after this review. What it doesn't have on this controller, which I wish it did, is there's no trigger stops on this controller. They are just pull all the way in. There's nothing wrong with the triggers on the controller. You just have a long way to press them in, and they look good. They're ergonomically, they're fine. They're not as good as maybe like the Spectrum Infinity, because it has more of a curve on the edge. These kind of just angle out or the angle and just kind of hard cut in for the most part, but they're fine. They work. There's no issues there, as well as the top buttons, left and right bumper. The buttons work great. There's nothing wrong with them. Again, they do look good. They're ergonomically, they're fine. They're not the best, but they're not by far anywhere near the worst. So I have nothing else to really say about them other than they work fine. Let's talk about joysticks on this controller. The joysticks on this controller, well, there's no stick drift out of the box. It comes out of the box calibrated at 0.0002, which is the normal standard average on controllers. That means they're perfect, ready to go out of the box. No stick drift here, no looking around trying to explain to your teammates why you suck at Call of Duty. Can the joysticks be overclocked on this controller? Yes, and well, no. This is somewhat locked, but you can get it to overclock. But let me explain before you run to your PC and do it. If you overclock this controller without overclocking, the pulling rate out of the box is a perfect 250. When I say perfect, it is dang near 4 every single time. That is minimum. The minimum was like 3.9, and then the average was 4, and the max was like 5, 6 or something like that. It was crazy. But when you overclock it, you do get a 1.9, 1.98 or something like that, but your max goes up to 10. So you're going from a 250, perfect 250, to a 500 to 125 hertz pull. So you're gonna be bouncing around a lot there. And on top of that, I was having some issues with the controller kind of glitching out, being overclocked. In the game, it would just, like when I was loading game, it didn't happen mid-game, but every time I loaded a game, I had to unplug and plug it back in to get recognized by the game for some reason. Not 100% known if that was because of being overclocked, because of this port, for crying out loud. I'm not 100%, but I would assume it was from being overclocked because I never had that issue before. So personally, I wouldn't overclock this controller. It's really good out of the box. There's no issues with it. I would just play her and run her hard. Now, speaking of the joysticks of this controller, you can put control freaks on here, and Xbox control freaks do. The series Xbox control freaks do fit on here, but be advised, first of all, that I have links in the description below for those and this controller, but also that be careful, because the mesh, the joystick itself, the rubber around the outside of the joystick is very soft. It's very easy to indent and very easy to probably rip. So be careful on putting control freaks on here. I was able to get them on there, but man, I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't like putting them on there because of just destroying the possible joystick itself. So if you put them on there, buy some to put on there and probably never take off, and just be careful when you do apply them on the controller. Let's talk about something I don't like on this controller for a second, and it's gonna be the charging port on this controller. I'm not a big fan of it because it is USB-C, which is great, and everything's USB-C now, thank God, but there's nothing to hold this up. It's just being held in by the port for the most part, and it's stressing the port on the inside out. The first controller I had, it made a horrible noise when you moved it around. This does make noise too. There's something hidden in there, and I don't know what it is, and it's not making me convinced at all that this is going to be a very long longevity port on this controller because of that. I really keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it here on the channel. PowerA, believe it or not, has the best setup for this because it actually has a built-around port to hold the cable up inside, so it's not being held up by the port, but it's being held up by the plastic that's encased around the port. It's a so much better design in my personal opinion. I really wish everybody else would go to this if they're able to. I don't know if PowerA has a patent on that or something. I wouldn't think so. It's just a freaking port, for crying out loud. But in any case, I am not a big fan of this port at all. So my final thoughts on the PDP Rematch Controller are this. For $32, it's not a bad controller. I wasn't big on the actuation buttons on the front of it to the charging port on it. But other than that, the controller comes out of the box perfectly built without stick drift at all. The look of this controller is absolutely gorgeous, and it comes with 2 extra buttons on the back of it. Things I wish they would add to make this a better overall experience and better controller for the consumer will be trigger stops in the future and a better charging point on this controller, just because it's absolutely trash in my personal opinion. But other than that, this controller isn't bad for $32 if you're looking for a great budget pro-ish controller, because I'm not going to call it, because I don't have trigger stops, because it can't be a real pro controller, but it has extra buttons on the back of it, so it's kind of pro. It's like your little brother trying to get good at Call of Duty, but you can still slap him around. Like, he's eventually going to beat you. I hope that PDP eventually steps up and gets to that point where they can smack other companies around too, which they do. They have better build quality than other controller companies out there, but I just wish that I want to see a few more things added to these controllers. But if you added more things to this controller, the price will go up. So for $32, this controller is a great controller. Again, this thing is linked in the description below. If you want to see the afterglow review of this controller, make sure you click on over here. If you want to see a side-by-side comparison, make sure you let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.